Thanks, Liza. That was beautiful. So my name is T.C. Tolbert, and I want to thank you all for coming. First, I'd like to thank Melissa Buckheit. She curates this series, has been doing it for years, and she always does an amazing job, a thoughtful job, with selections, introductions, and attention. And I don't feel like we acknowledge you enough in all the work that you do, and so thank you. So yeah, This is by far Casa Libre's best attended series. As you can see, we've packed the house. And so thanks for doing that. I feel honored to be a part of this again, which is really cool.
You should tell them you were in the first reading ever.
Yeah, I was part of the first Edge reading many years ago, which is really cool. So it's fun to be back and to have a chapbook, which is also cool. I also want to thank Liza and Tung Hui. I feel really honored to read with both of you, and to be right in the middle is super cool. So thanks. And finally, I want to thank my dad, David, who just walked in. He drove 12 hours from Colorado on Monday just to be here and to listen to me read. He's never heard me read before, and so everyone's like, "Are you excited?" I'm like, "I think I'm going to throw up." So that's fun. So yeah. I'm going to read from a manuscript that I literally just finished a few weeks ago called The Littlest Death. And the manuscript is admittedly heavy. It struggles with the seeming expendability of transgender people. I'm transgender. And so it deals with that subject matter. It also deals with my personal gender transition, how that relates to sex, love, and loss, and suicide. And so the themes have a lot of weight. We're actually surrounded by kites right now that were made of part of Made for Flight project, which I started to commemorate the lives of transgender people who've been murdered in the last year. There were almost 40 transgender people murdered last year, over 100 the year before that, and there have already been 7 this year. So it's still happening. The section I'm reading tonight from The Littlest Death is not from the public grief portion of the manuscript, so I deal a lot with the murder of other folks. The part I want to read tonight, because you're essentially in my living room, for those of you who don't know, I actually live right here. And so here you are in my house, and so I'm going to read some really interior sections of the book that actually have to do with my personal struggles with suicide, with my grief over love and loss, and a good friend of mine named David Stuball Ackley killed himself on February 21st of this year. I've known him for 11 years, and literally 10 years ago, he gave me my name. And so this reading is dedicated to Stuball. If I don't throw up, I'll cry. Do you ever want to kill yourself? It is nothing to be proud of, although definitively I am proud. 5 pushpins and nothing sacred between them. A body untethered and small. To erase the self, we have one too many methods at our disposal. We have the opportunity to eat oranges at the table and dreaming. We have the imperative. We have other bodies. We have stages. We have mouths that confirm what other mouths tell the eyes exactly what it is they think we should know. We have anger and heroes. We have adjuncts. We have a Diet Coke when what we could have is water. We have time. We have time. We have a show. 30 days ago, your body was a body. Your body stood next to other bodies in line, and your body looked carefully at the relationship of other bodies to space. Your body couldn't be careless if it wanted to. Your body heard other bodies in relation to your body, and it wasn't completely afraid of the inference. Your body kept going. Your body took note. A body never asks for a witness in the same way that a body never asked for a bone. You give back everything. If anger was a body that could stay you, give back kindness. Give it quick. It is leaving. Give back a week in my apartment. Give the ladder. Give back the map and what it believes about proximity. Give salvation. Give I love you. Give it back. Give it back. And then go. Give back a forehead without expression. Give a reading. Give back your back and the way it made an impossibly beautiful contract with the door. Make the body blunder. Give it bleeding. Give back a hand. Make it gentle. Make it a river, not water. Make it a vacuum. Make it a fable. Full shod flung into a kiss. Take back the gentle hand running for the neckline. Take back the gentle hand plowing up the face. Make it own up to all the ways in which it said it was going. Make it admit to all the pretty ways in which it promised it would miss. Even if you still can't hear me, can you hear me? Give back the name you wrapped around us like a floor. Make it a house and make us sleep there. Make us dreamy. House of falling, house of people, house of distance, house of a bed in the middle, house of sisters, house of risk, house of books, house of names, house of clothes, house of no dancing, house of suicide, house of orchids, house of women who love their captors, house of using, house of food, house of food, house of men. House of shaken by the shoulders, house of trembling, house of a knee on the chest, baby, and the neck. House of bedroom eyes ugly, the body leaking. House of you're smarter than that. House of pray harder. House of cleaning. House of backhands. House of I love you. House of debt. House of I wish I had never been born. House of screaming. House of masturbation. House of starving. House of brown eyes. House of three musketeers. House of cigarettes shoved down the throat. House of singing. House of salmon. House of burning. House of tongues. House of cock. House of fuck. House of pussy. House of objectification. Tender bender. House of kiss. House of little girls abused by their fathers. House of I want to show you off. House of windows. House of whores. House of gifts. House of erase me. House of sublimation. House of ether. House of I wish. House of I wish. House of I wish. There are entire days of traffic, and yesterday was another one. The cars go by, and sometimes they don't, but their noise is pervasive. Their noise Dopplers off the fence and thousands of other mitochondria, and in this you feel the universe expanding, but somehow it never loses its integrity. Their noise is a blanket you sometimes wake up to, sometimes still hold it to your ears. If you were to visit me yesterday, I would not have remembered your hamstrings, the surprise of them and what they were sewn into. Silence makes its own atmosphere, its own weather. 8 years sober, inconceivable viscera, mouth I could climb into, and did. I live in a place without weather, you tell me. No, I say, you live in a place without ears. To sit down, to cross the legs, to relax a little, to not know fully how to relax, to imagine the damage done by crossing, to be comfortable, defiant, distracted, to write something down, to feel the wind and want to write something else, to write not the same thing, but not something entirely new, to hear the dog get up, to remember how someone else talked to the dog, to touch the dog without talking, to wish never to talk again, to take it back, to say something inconsequential as a test against faith, to uncross the legs, to feel awkward, shy, rub one thumb against the other, to misunderstand a sentence someone said over a year ago, to hear a door close, to ascribe meaning, to imagine, but not want to, a horrible death. To shop for shampoo, compare prices, smells, to deliberate, to remember that bathroom, to see through the curtain, to sit on the sink, to talk about ingredients, law school, veganese, to toss a towel, to flip a light switch then, for no apparent reason, to cup the hand on the door frame, to let it go. to call the dog, to clap at the dog, to lift the leash, to touch the pockets for confirmation, to lock the door. To walk near the dog, sometimes in front, sometimes behind, to know enough to smile when people are near, to put the right hand in the pocket, to retrieve the phone. To confirm that the ringer is off, to check for messages, to get to the bridge, to scan the graffiti, to wonder how one knows what to do. To encourage the dog, to run a little, adjust the belt, wipe the nose, laugh, remember something, check the phone. To unlock the door, to lock it again once one is inside, to slip off the shoes, open the computer, type in the password, to look for the clock, then see a photograph instead, to remember that it has been removed. To click on the keyboard, to feel impatient, to say hateful things to oneself, to sign in, to let the password be saved. To wonder about intimacy, to feel increasingly frustrated, to sit there, to scroll, to mock, to berate. To climb the ladder, to pick up the book, read a while, pet the dog, push the pillow, to imagine something, to read some more, to forget what came first, to go back, to feel relieved when it is familiar, to close the book, to turn off the light, to exhale loudly, to not want to touch oneself, to expose the breasts in the dark, to imagine something else, to touch the nipples, to run the hands down the belly, to not be surprised, to feel proud in the way that one is proud of things one does not deserve. To love the softness, then the hair, to feel the genitals straining, to not think a word like genitals, to not think a word like straining. To imagine a face, to imagine her face. Focus on the fantasy. Smile that now that no one can see. To open the mouth, to let the neck pull, to know it's not worth it, to do it anyway, to let the tongue out, to be desperate, to terrorize the hamstrings, the knees, the calves, to feel lonely, to change one's mind and feel brave. To beg, to show the self, to imagine the hood of a car, an interstate, a rape. To wake up, and to already be tired of waking. To do nothing, to elongate the legs, to always be imagining, to feel ashamed. To miss things, to blame, to take the blame, to remember, to try to remember, to insist on certain organizational strategies, to be alone, to touch the nearest body, to always be near, to look at the watch, to be alone, to test the watch, to test the button on the side, to hold it down, to wonder what it is exactly the watch claims to know. To turn on the computer, to type in the password, to not have to type in the password, to receive, to scan, to want, to read haphazardly, to forget, to read, to remember, touch oneself, hurt, to assume overcrowding, to feel overcrowded, to imagine one will have to forget. There's nothing that spectacular about a zipper. My father did not die yesterday. One twist and a tie down and it will be quiet for the duration of the drive. I'm still horny. I never use a word like bench. That's the fattest bird I have since ever seen. There's more than one way to hit a wall. Sometimes the heart is hateful. The eyes are swollen shut, and so therefore they are seeing other things. The stairs' primary purpose is to permit passage from floor to floor. It's a holiday. In English, they call it Day of the Dead. Fuck the French. Sometimes the hands freeze, but what is liquid still stays liquid in the chest. Is that a sailboat? Are we going home now? As a political position, I make of myself not a martyr, but a cylinder of grief. A demand is still attention to absence. The wind is easing. There is an axe splitting wood from a door. It is the people who never attempt suicide who have to survive it. I finished the dishes, and what followed was a form I could believe in. We are monsters, and monstrous, totally. There is a statistical definition of regression. The body is not a world, but a word. It's the kind of call we stay awake for in our sleep. And never use a word like bench. A sex addict has very little chance of discovery. A hand is still an intention to need. It's a bird for only one reason. It allowed itself to be pulled through the sky. drinking this Dr. Pepper because Stu Ball, my friend, brought these to me when he visited last year. They're special. They don't have some sort of bad sugar. They have good sugar. And so we would sit up every night and watch the Pawn Stars, which is not porn stars, and drink this Dr. Pepper and eat pizza, which was kind of amazing, because I don't do any of those things. And so when he killed himself, I ordered a case of this stuff. I found it on the internet, and I've been sharing it with people who mean a whole lot to me. So it felt really good to be able to share one with my dad tonight. I read that email is addictive in the same way that slot machines are addictive. I suppose the same can be said for texting and even sexting too. Richard Hugo says we spend our entire lives writing the same poem over and over. In AA, that goes something like, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. I believe these things are probably true. You can learn a lot about a girl just by watching her sleep. Krista, who has never been addicted to anything, says she's finally reached the adulthood she's been waiting for. She said, I get it now. My feelings are not real. When David finally got well enough to kill himself, I was eating chocolate chip banana bread in a bed in San Francisco. Between the time he separated from his body and the time I found out about it, something like the span of 8 hours, I'd had 2 orgasms and given at least 3. It was a Monday. In the same book, I read that one man stopped time for nearly 4 minutes in order to standardize distance on November 18th, 1883. I also read that with the advent of instant messaging, distance has become obsolete. You called once and left a message while you were waiting for a reading, but a bird was trapped in a building. You said, I love it when a bird is trapped in a building. I thought that must have something to do with dopamine. I masturbate more often than I want to. When I was listening to your message, I remember trying to decipher the exact moment in the body when an arm turns itself into a wrist. According to a 2006 Cisco research paper, not responding to an email within 24 hours can result in a serious breakdown in trust. Remember when you asked me to hit you in the face when we had just started to have sex? In the dream, my backpack was stolen, and when I woke up the next morning, I knew you were soon to be addicted to other, more incendiary things. Aaron says we tell the same stories over and over in the hopes that someone will eventually hear them differently. When someone said, I didn't sign up for this, what I heard was, I'm running late. If speed is the god of the 21st century, what offering can I lay at her feet? Found only in the desert, the sphinx moth is sometimes called a micro hummingbird. When in motion, you can't tell the difference between it and a real hummingbird. When at rest, it's just a moth with a gift. I still don't know if sex with myself is optimistic or just a predictable opportunity to reflect. David's real name is Stuball, but when I say that, I don't actually believe that he's dead. What is the distance between a body and its name? Apparently the light from a computer is direct light as opposed to reflected light, and this has caused an epidemic of nearsightedness. In Singapore, 80% of youth are myopic. I only miss you when I hear my voice calling you babe. Rihanna made a relatively campy video about S&M, and I felt threatened for all the wrong reasons. When I asked you why you loved me, you said, I don't know, it's just magic. I just do. Rebecca said, it is difficult to celebrate in a culture that does not value celebration. We could never get high enough, so instead I brought you coffee in bed. According to one study, participants manually check their email 30 to 40 times in an hour. I answered your question with my own question. Do you want the palm of my hand, or the back, or a fist? I've got 2 more. This next one is on the broadside. I'm thinking to myself, we never know open, a constraint that gives us a landscape in which to find ourselves, a parameter that tells us nothing about how far we can go. Pouring one bag of sand into another, we learn to bear weight by bearing weight, I tell her. I'm not the same after these 3 days, after 1 year of celibacy, after the paneling of 36 years. After one woman dead and then brought back to life, after 6 others dying but living first, after rejection of words and worlds and words. You, this label, this honor, this hero, I am thinking to myself, we never know open. The man under the blanket named Jared, who kept his word, body, world, who was gone in the morning, who may have never been there except other people saw him, who is not the Jared you are thinking of, who when the body, when the world, forgot itself entirely, made sure to offer us the chance to come back to ourselves, who when the knees shied away from their service, reminded us we could still listen with our bodies. Remember, we can still listen with our words. I'm thinking to myself, we never know open, how she said, psychologically I want to take the whole thing, and how I loved her then. How that was just what I was asking for, the boundaries of her body, and in what capacity can we begin to exist. I'm thinking to myself, we never know open, the relief of diminishing importance and exhaustion of cellular proportions, not a martyr, but a cylinder of grief. I'm thinking to myself, we never know open, and the body not nearly as powerful as we give it credit for. A bullet through and through is still a bullet, and 5 days later, the fact of your breathing is tenuous, and how we wonder what the eyes begin to see. I'm thinking to myself, we never know open, how an architecture can surprise us with its happiness, can offer us a window missing a hinge that still opens, a window missing a hinge that can still close. The way relief is a necessary technique when engineering the body, when engineering the building with a door. I'm thinking to myself, we never know open, how removing the frames from the wall and leaving only the nails behind can give us a possible we learn not to drown in. How the body is capable only of leaving, or touch, or tender, or arriving, or space, or egress. How this is exactly how I wish to be misunderstood by you. May we be this fortunate and always. The way we thought time may fill up our lungs with salt water, the way we are still breathing, and may we die breathing, listening to the stretching of our skin. How the body is a paradox we practice being friendly with, how we care immensely about it absolutely in this moment, and how we then turn and completely let it go. I'm thinking to myself, we never know open. I'm thinking to myself, we never know. This last poem is for Stubal. It's been exactly 123 hours. I run when I shouldn't be running, and I tell myself to keep running because trees exist, because my feet are there, because you slept on my floor, because yours was a body I thought I knew, or could know. Because control is a just cause, not a reason, because the party is amazing, because there are so many lovely people here, because in the back there just has to be a secret little door. Because Roger killed himself first, and I didn't blame him for it, because you can't be greedy. No one really slept that well for the last 2 years. Because Truth or Consequences is a real place. Because you gave me my name. Because you said all the things I never wanted to hear and I believed them. Because we fought over a book. Because maybe disrupting the narrative is the most honest thing a person could ever do. Because I wouldn't have told anyone. Because no matter how many people are murdered there, the Appalachian Trail will always be a really safe place. Because a kite is useless in most types of weather. Because coffee hurts my heart. Because I'm trying to follow your example. Because you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Because an empty room is more crowded than it looks. Because you could have just woken up the next morning. Because you didn't have to write me. Because we all have a choice, and when it comes down to it, the choice that you made was to leave. Because we could have been interchangeable. Because I trusted you. Because the body could never stop hearing itself move. Because I never wrote you back. Because I saw you fall, and you asked me not to look. Because now there is hardly any room. Because eating will always be an admission of crisis. Because I tell myself things that make me feel humble, but ultimately I know they're not true. Because I'm doing my very best to be supportive. Because I know you did your research, but I don't know how you did it. Because catalysts exist for good reason. Because my mother told me to always be careful about the images I exposed myself to. Because anger is normal. Because the desert doesn't actually need any more water. Because the body accumulates. Because Hallelujah was born in Leonard Cohen's throat. Because I've done my research too. Because the suffering of others is easy. Because I sent you chocolate-covered ginger. I sent you an orchid. Because now distance is less sexy than it used to be. Because my name was luminescent in your mouth. Because your shoulders, your eyes, your voice. Because the shame of bodies is the shame of repetition. Because time should not keep passing. Because how could I forget the corners of your laugh? Because I'm trying not to follow your example. Because too many things get lost in the years. Because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Because gentle is not enough when you leave. Because some pretending is just part of the package. Because there will never be enough communication. Because saguaros don't start growing their arms until they've lived at least 65 years. Because we ate pizza. Because you held me. Because now I don't know who to believe. Because there's nothing that special about a Monday. Because it's a kind of hunger that points through the self. Because a photograph is nothing more than an acknowledgement of a moment that no longer exists. Because we walk together for days and then weeks. There is a wind so delicate, I've had to close my doors to its music. In my mind, I come home often and early. In my mind, the wind never leaves. Thank you.